Just one scoop of creatine a day is one of the easiest ways to improve your metabolic health and lower your cancer risk. When you hear the word creatine, what comes to mind? Maybe a muscly gym guy adding it to a protein shake? Probably because creatine is one of the most researched and effective supplements for athletes and bodybuilders. But it's actually time we stop calling it just a gym supplement, because now we know that it can actually help to save your life. Big statement, I know, but stick with me. Scientists are now finding that creatine can also lower your risk of cancer, protect your brain from dementia, and even fix blood sugar issues. So much so that honestly, I've decided that creatine is something I'll be taking every day for the rest of my life. And I spent weeks digging into the research on this to see if it's really true. Can creatine actually help to prevent cancer? Does it work for people who don't exercise? And how much of it do we actually need every day? What I found was pretty eye-opening, so let's start here. Cancer doesn't just show up overnight. It often develops over time because of 3 underlying problems: chronic inflammation, too much oxidative stress, and a worn-out immune system. But guess what? Creatine helps with all 3 of these. For years, we thought creatine was just something for muscles, brain power, and athletic performance, but new research is showing the benefits go way beyond that. Now we know creatine can also help to lower inflammation, which naturally lowers your cancer risk, strengthen your immune system, your main defense against cancer, and protect you from harmful oxidative stress, the kind that damages your DNA, which can then lead to cancer. And it doesn't even stop there. Creatine's also showing big promise for people dealing with insulin resistance. And this is huge because right now, more than 80% of people have some degree of insulin resistance, but most don't even know it. And this isn't just a blood sugar problem. It can also double or even triple your risk of getting certain types of cancer. One study I found looked at people with type 2 diabetes who exercised regularly. Half the group took creatine daily, and the other half didn't. And lo and behold, the group that took creatine and exercised had better blood sugar control over the group that just exercised without creatine. So why is this? Well, creatine helps you build and protect lean muscle. And muscle is your best friend when it comes to blood sugar control. It sucks up glucose more efficiently and it keeps inflammation in check, which, let's be honest, is one of the root causes of so many health issues. So to answer our first question, can creatine actually help to prevent cancer? Well, maybe not directly, because we don't have any clinical trials done on humans to prove that creatine directly prevents cancer, but we do have a lot of proof that it can help to indirectly prevent cancer by lowering inflammation, strengthening your immune system, and improving insulin resistance. And listen to this. There was another study that looked at thousands of people across the US, and those who ate more creatine-rich foods like red meat, fish, pork, or chicken were less likely to develop cancer. And for every small bump of creatine in their blood, younger adults had an average of 5% lower risk of getting cancer, and for people over 52, that risk dropped by up to 14%. That's big. But there were also 2 interesting things to mention here. Number 1, the link between creatine and lower cancer risk was stronger in men than women. And that might be because men tend to have more muscle than women. And since we store creatine in our muscles, women naturally tend to store less. And number 2, apparently body weight matters as well. People who were moderately overweight actually saw the biggest protective benefits from creatine, more so than people who were underweight. And although creatine is one of the most researched and safest supplements out there, for healthy adults it's well tolerated long term. But if you have kidney problems or you're taking medications that can stress your kidneys, or if you're in the middle of cancer treatment, please check with your doctor first. Now here's where things get even more interesting. The fact that creatine can help you build muscle is yet another way that it can support your metabolic health and prevent cancer. Muscle is the biggest storage tank for glucose in your body. The more lean muscle you have, the more efficiently your body can clear out sugar from your blood. So more muscle equals better blood sugar control and lower insulin resistance and risk of type 2 diabetes. But it's not just about sugar. Your muscles also help to lower inflammation whenever you move or work out. They release things called myokines that help to calm down the inflammation and even improve autophagy. This is your body's way of finding and destroying any dangerous cells like precancerous cells before they turn into cancer. And creatine not only helps you to build muscle, it also gives you more energy for your workouts. And if you're not already convinced, on top of that, your immune system needs quick energy to fight off cancer cells. Creatine doesn't just energize your muscles, it also powers your T cells. And these are like the little cancer-fighting soldiers of your immune system. So, especially if you had cancer treatment like chemo or radiation therapy, you may have lost some muscle mass in the process. Maybe you weren't able to exercise as much or eat as much protein as usual, and that's totally normal. But it's crucial that you start to rebuild that muscle after you finish cancer treatment or try to maintain it along the way. So basically, muscle is amazing. At the end of the day, having more muscle means having a higher metabolism even at rest, better insulin sensitivity, lower body fat, especially the dangerous visceral kind of fat, less inflammation, and a stronger immune system. And creatine is like an accelerator pedal to make this all happen faster and more effectively. But what if you don't exercise? Does creatine still help? Let's split that into two parts, your metabolic health and then everything else. For metabolic health, the research is clear. Creatine works best when it's paired with exercise. But taking creatine on its own without exercise, the results just aren't as strong. But for overall health, without exercise, taking creatine alone is a bit of a mixed bag. Some studies show that it can still lower inflammation and preserve muscle, while others have found no additional benefits when you're not training, especially in older adults. But taking creatine on its own may still give you more energy. But if your goal is to have better sugar control or muscle mass, adding even a bit of resistance or strength training can make creatine a lot more effective. So if you want all the amazing benefits we're going over today, don't skip out on exercise. Adding even a few short strength training sessions a week can flip the switch that actually allows creatine to deliver those benefits. Even doing resistance bands at home or taking brisk walks with hills can make a big difference. Alright, so how much creatine do we actually need every day? Well, creatine is actually something your body makes on its own in your liver. And again, you can get it from some foods, mostly meat and fish. But unless you're eating a huge amount of animal protein, you're probably not getting enough of it. Especially if your body is healing from cancer treatment or surgery, or if you eat a plant-based diet, your levels are likely lower than optimal. So that's where taking supplements can make a real difference. For most adults, the most studied and simplest plan is to take 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate a day, any time of day that you'll actually remember to take it, and you can skip the fancy supplements. Creatine monohydrate is the gold standard for effectiveness, safety, and cost. This is the one I take. I just bought it off Amazon and I can link it below for you, but it's generally tolerated very well by most people with decades of research on its safety, even in older adults or people with chronic illnesses. But at the end of the day, creatine is just amazing because it helps you build and maintain your muscle mass, which means better blood sugar control, lower inflammation, and a stronger immune system. And together those benefits create a healthier metabolism and a lower risk of getting cancer. So if you're wondering who should take creatine, well, almost anyone really, especially if you're a cancer survivor trying to rebuild your strength, or if you're trying to bounce back from illness, or have better metabolic health, or simply if you want to stay stronger and healthier as you age. It's not magic, but it's definitely one of the easiest and most effective ways to support your health. Speaking of which, so is intermittent fasting. So check out this video next, and I'll see you next week.